There's been some talk online lately about a term, catfish. And I first had it brought to my attention on the Philip DeFranco show, and evidently it's a term that's used online to refer to somebody who misrepresents themselves deliberately, whether it's through MySpace or Facebook or a chat site or whatever, and they, present themselves as whatever. I'm a svelte 22-year-old gorgeous young lady, and it turns out it's some guy who's 57 and living in a basement somewhere. There's a movie out now called Catfish, which is evidently supposed to be an absolutely horrifying thriller. There have been a few online reviews about it. Phil had even mentioned that. You can tell I really enjoy his program. I follow it regularly. But I didn't even realize that this term existed until recently. And I have been a victim of a catfish. And the weird thing is, I guess I could say I was a willing victim. It was a story that lasted for about 3.5, 4 years, technically 6 years. And I'm going to give you the very, very abridged version. You know that I'm a gay man. I live alone. I was in the closet until I was 34. So not a whole lot of social life going on outside of business. And a lot of stuff online. I post my cartoons. This was even before I did my YouTube videos. I write stories and put those on forums and things. And I developed a lot of fans and followings from locally and domestically throughout the nation, and some people even overseas. Hey, I read your latest story. It was great. And I started communicating with this young man from Tennessee, and he was just out of high school, farm boy, fighting cancer, the whole thing, just this really incredible, courageous kid with a very, very supportive family. And what started out as one thing led to another. First it was an occasional letter, hey, I read your latest story, he'd send me emails, this is great, I love it. I based a character on him, hey, I read the story that had a character based on me, wow, that was exciting, thanks. We didn't hear from each other for months, and then, we'd chat again, and then, years, and so on and so forth. And eventually, it led into telephone calls, which led to lots of phone calls, which led to mailing one another gifts, and just a romance blossomed between me and this person. And I got a lot of support from my family. They said, hey, it doesn't matter if he's younger than you, age is just a number, so on and so forth. But every single time we tried to visit, something would go wrong. He would wind up having some relapse with his lymphoma and would wind up in the hospital, and I'd get emails from his brother and let me know how he was doing and so on and so forth, and I had my entire church praying for his recovery and so on and so forth. And then one thing led to another, which led to another, which led to another as far as delays were concerned. Every time we tried to get together, something would go wrong. He would try to drive up here for Christmas and it wouldn't work. Something would go awry. The person who was going to give us the ride, because I don't have a car, would prove unreliable, or someone would get sick, or he'd go back to the hospital. And I remember one time he called me in tears saying that his cancer had spread, and I spent almost 2 hours on the phone trying to calm him down and just listen to him and so on and so forth. And he sent more and more gifts, fine things my folks were looking for. Here's that old record you wanted, Dad, that you lost. It hasn't been in print since 1953. My friend found it. And there eventually became a lot of inconsistencies. He would mention stories that seemed very important to him, and then a few weeks later, he almost didn't even remember them. Oh, that, I wouldn't worry about that. Well, yeah, but it was so important to you. I thought it was vitally important, and then all of a sudden he didn't care. And after several years, I shouldn't say several, about 2 or 3 years of talking on the phone every night for an hour to 2 hours, I finally said, screw this, I'm coming to see you. And I carpooled with a friend who was going down south and headed to Tennessee. Bundled the puppy dog in the car and the whole thing, long trip. And eventually we got to his place. Lots of voicemail messages left to me on my one little cell phone that I use when I travel. And it was, oh, don't come, there's been a storm, a tree fell on the house. Oh, don't come, the little brothers are in the hospital. Don't come, my Aunt Petunia blew up. They got more and more crazy. And then finally the last message was babbling and crying and incoherent. I never meant to hurt you, blah, and the whole thing. Anyway, to make a long story short, if it's not already too late, the courageous 20-something young man battling cancer didn't exist. He was a disturbed, shut-in man in his 50s who developed a crush on me through my stories and my artwork online and conjured the whole thing in his head. He never had cancer. The family was made up. He even had made up the pets he owned, for God's sakes. And I was completely and utterly devastated. I was in mourning for a couple of, several days straight, bawling and not being able to focus and things because he evidently had developed this crush on me, and I had fallen for somebody who didn't exist, a fabrication. And it was just a horrible thing. It was absolutely devastating. And what I learned from this is something I can share with you. The internet is great. It's wonderful. There's YouTube videos. Hey, I'm posting this right now. You can watch TV shows you missed. There's chat groups. There's Facebook. There's all these wonderful things you can do online. But I'll tell you this right now from someone who's been there. Get out of the house, okay? Just get out. Do something. Join a bowling league. Volunteer with Civic Theater. Get involved in your church. Find a gay group to join or something. There's PFLAG and GLAD and Glisten on all these wonderful sites. See if you can't become a supporter of a local booster club. Go to bars shit-faced and have one-night stands. Just take your dog for a walk to a dog park and meet other dog owners. Just get out of the house, okay? It's now reached the point that if I communicate with someone online and we hit it off, I say, hey, if you don't have a webcam, if you can't send me photographs, if you can't do this, I'm sorry, we're done. If you can't prove that you exist, forget it. Well, I have a really, really sophisticated chat system, but I don't have a camera phone, I can't send you a picture. Well, sorry, delete, block, not going to happen. I'll do things with people now where they'll send me a photograph and I'll think, oh, this is out of a catalog. Fine, send me a photo that says, hi, Misty, bow wow, you holding up a little page that says that. And as soon as they say, well, I can't do that, I cut off communication. It's a little paranoid, but hey, with my history, why not? I had one guy I was convinced was a phony, and he ended up holding up a picture. Hi, Brez. He's holding a sign, and the whole thing, and we're buds now. But be careful. Don't automatically trust. Make sure there's a solid person that you can pinch and be convinced that he's real. Get out of the house, okay? Get out of the house. Get out there and live. The internet is great. But if you get sucked into the phony virtual world, you're going to wind up with a virtual love life, which is to say, none. Okay? Be careful.